Are you worried about what to feed unexpected guests this holiday season? I'm Chef Micelle Bernstein and I have some appetizers you can wow them with. So much so that they may not want to leave. Today on So Full of Taste. This is South Florida. It's where I live and work. I'm Chef Micelle Bernstein. South Florida is more than sun, sand, and sea. It's a lifestyle of fashion, sound, culture, and of course, food. Food with taste from all over the world. Join me as we celebrate the food of South Florida and the people who love it. Join me as we experience So Flow Taste. I'm Chef Micelle Bernstein here at J World in Coconut Creek. Unexpected guests go right along with the holidays. So whether it's your next door neighbor or good old Uncle Morty, you're gonna have to feed them. So today I thought it would be fun to show some of my go-to appetizers that can be ready before your guests hit the sofa. So let's get cooking. My mother used to wow and dazzle diners with sweet and sour meatballs. So I thought that I'd give it my own little twist. We actually made these, we froze them, and we're gonna take them right from frozen into the oven and cook them like that. So we got some ground pork and some ground beef from Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market, delawarechicken.com, and I'm gonna put them both into a mixing bowl. And the first thing I'm gonna do is just season it with a good amount of salt and pepper. And excuse me for wearing gloves. I know they're not the prettiest, but I'm gonna be mixing it with my hands to make sure it really combines well. So take some little diced pieces of crustless bread from pretty much almost anything. I took it from some white bread. You can use sourdough. You can give it a flavor if you want to. Anyway, soak it with some heavy cream, about a quarter cup, and some milk, about 3/4 of a cup. And let that soak until it all kind of evaporates into or gets soaked up into the bread. I have 1 egg, some chopped Italian parsley, and a little bit of mustard. Let's go ahead and start mixing everything into the pork and ground beef. So this is the flavor profile that I wanted. If you want to make this in a bit of a more Asian style or Middle Eastern style, you can really play with the flavorings that you add into this. So the egg goes in, parsley. So this is gonna take 2 different kinds of bread. It's gonna take breadcrumbs. I went with plain breadcrumbs as well as the soaked bread. A lot of recipes for these meatballs just contain a lot of bread in them. Once these have gotten really soft, go ahead and squeeze out a little bit of the excess cream and milk, but I still want a little bit in there, so don't squeeze out too much. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon back in. And let's go ahead and start mixing everything up really well. And you can do this by hand or you can use a mixer. You keep on going until everything is extremely well combined. So once everything is combined, I made really tiny little meatballs. That's how I think that they're more fun to serve in a cocktail manner. So let me just remove my gloves to show you how to do that. I like to oil my hands just a little bit. So just a tiny bit of oil on my hands so nothing sticks. Take a really small amount. I'm thinking this is probably about a teaspoon. And then because you have oiled hands, nothing sticks. So it's really nice and neat and clean. And that is how tiny I made these meatballs. So we lined a cookie sheet with parchment paper. And we sprayed that parchment paper with spray cooking oil. And I'm just gonna top it with the same oil spray. I'm gonna go into a 350-degree oven. I'm guesstimating this at 20 to 25 minutes. I'll let you know what happens, but let's go ahead and make the sauce that we're serving with it. I'm gonna combine a little bit of chicken stock or chicken broth, some soy sauce, a little bit of plain old ketchup, some brown sugar, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and then a little bit of cornstarch. So I'm going to start warming this up together. Hopefully it'll come together nicely. We'll taste it together. Come right back. We're going to make wontons, everybody. Come right back. SoFlo Taste will return right after this. Welcome back to the SoFlo Taste and my Instant App Show. I'm here at JA World in Coconut Creek, where they're training the next generation of business leaders, employees, and consumers by educating students about financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and work readiness. For information about JA World, go to jasouthflorida.org or call 954-979-7100. Now back to the food. Meatballs are ready, so let's see them. Oh yes. Look how pretty this is. They're starting to get golden a little bit on the top. So I'm gonna now toss it into that sauce that I had made, which, by the way, I brought it up to a boil, let it go for a minute. That was it. I think I'm just gonna drop some meatballs into my sweet and sour sauce. This was so easy. I think I'm gonna bake meatballs from now on. Save the rest for another time. Put these back here. So I'm gonna toss my meatballs into the sweet and sour sauce, and I thought it would be kind of cute to put them into a dish like this and go into your cupboards and look for some fun little skewers that you might have around. It would be great to serve this alongside a cup full, or as I've done here, a decanter full of skewers, so that everybody can take little bites of their little cocktail meatballs. For parties, how great is this? Throw some skewers on there and let people dig in. I don't know, if you want to throw a little parsley, you can do that. And there you have it. Delicious sweet and sour meatballs that couldn't be easier. All right, moving on. I actually worked in Marrakesh quite a few years ago. I found the best housewife cooks, I should say, in Marrakesh to teach me some delicious Moroccan dishes. And this is one I brought home with me. They're called Moroccan lamb cigars. So instead of using phyllo dough, they use brick dough. And this is how brick dough comes. This is the bag. It's called fouille de brique, and or brick dough in English. It's really great because it's crispy and thin and awesome. And you can find these in gourmet shops, or you can find them online. Let me put the brick dough down. So we're gonna make these lamb cigars with a lot of delicious, intense flavor. I'm using some extra virgin oil, and we got this ground lamb at Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. They are located at 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood. Go look them up. They have everything and the best of everything. We're gonna start out by cooking some onions, and instead of dicing these, I actually cut the onion in half and I grated it on a box grater. And then I squeezed a little bit of the excess liquid out by just squeezing it into a paper towel. To this onion, I'm gonna go ahead and add the spices. And I have a mixture here of cumin, coriander, cayenne, and cinnamon. You really want to toast the spices into the onions, because that in turn will give flavor to all the lamb that we'll be adding into the pan. I'm also going to season this now. So a nice amount of salt and cracked black pepper, which, by the way, in Morocco they use a lot of fresh pepper. And go ahead and add the ground lamb. The ground lamb, it's really spectacular. I could eat that as a tartare. It's so pretty. I know you probably wouldn't, but I think I would. All right, I'm gonna keep that heat nice and low. It ends up looking a little bit like a picadillo. We're gonna just brown the meat. Once it's browned, I'll add a little bit of tomato paste, but don't worry, I won't do much before you get here. So come right back, we'll finish this together. And of course, I have delicious wontons later. So come right back.
Join me, design expert Elena Capra, for SoFlo Home Project, immediately following SoFlo Taste.
Welcome back to SoFlo Taste. The recipes I'm making today will be on SoFloTaste.com in 1 week. But all the rest of my recipes are available now online at SoFloTaste.com. Now, back to the food. Very good. So our lamb has cooked. The tomato paste has cooked out. I have soaked some raisins with just a little bit of hot water. I'm going to add that water to the lamb just to make it a little juicy. And I'll add the raisins, some freshly chopped Italian parsley, and some pine nuts, which give it a great crispy kind of adventure while you're eating it. Okay, that all mixes up. It gets cooled, and when it's cool, it looks like this. So you take this filling, and you take your brick dough, a little bit of egg, which I'm just gonna use my bare hands. I'm gonna go ahead and already wet the outer circle with a little bit of egg wash, which is basically just a whisked egg with about a tablespoon of water. Take your filling, form it already into a nice small roll. And if you've ever rolled anything, remember, the tighter the better. So pull it back really nice and tight. So really tight. When you're halfway up, fold both sides in. Try to make sure that you're folding in both sides exactly the same. Now keep rolling really tight, really tight, really tight, really tight. Ah, voila. So you want this to sit on the seam side down on paper, like so. Throw it in your freezer, and when you're ready to cook them, when your guests arrive, they take 2 minutes to fry, if that. The oil is at like a medium-high temperature, and I am gonna serve them with tahini sauce, which I love. They also go really well with like a nice yogurt sauce. It's up to you. All right, we're gonna cut them in half. So I'm gonna cut them on a little bias, like so. And they're really crunchy. Put them on a little platter. Kind of stack them up a little bit, like so. And there you have it. Dip it in a little bit of tahini sauce, which you can either make or buy. Come right back, let's make some wontons. Woohoo! Welcome back to SoFlo Taste and my instant appetizer show. Moving on, we're gonna go to wontons. We're gonna make mushroom tofu wontons. If you hate tofu, disregard the tofu. Just make mushroom wontons. I've got all kinds of fun mushrooms with me, honmejis, oysters, shiitakes, all kinds of yummy stuff. You get what you like. These came from the regular grocery store, and they are beautiful. I got what's called the chef's mix of mushrooms. I'm gonna just kind of, I stemmed the shiitakes, I cleaned up the oysters, and I'm not cutting them up fine at all. We're gonna put them into a food processor because we want them really, really, really fine. We're gonna add a little piece of ginger, 1 clove of garlic, which I'm actually gonna smash or cut up in a couple pieces before I add that in. Some little slices of shallot as well. And let's go ahead and run this food processor until everything is fine, fine, fine minced. Okay, so we're gonna bring that over here to the saute pan. Heat up a little bit of kind of like a non-flavored oil. So flavorless would be grapeseed oil, canola oil, saffron oil, any of those don't really have any distinct flavor to them. And for flavorings, I've got some sesame oil, a little bit of dried chili flakes, a little hoisin, and a little bit of soy sauce and scallions, all for flavor. Now, as far as the tofu, I decided on choosing a silken tofu. Thought it would be kind of cool because it's so soft. Silken tofu. It's called silken probably because it's so silky. And I pressed all the liquid out of it, and it took me about 24 hours. As you saw, I had a jar sitting on it, and this is what it comes out to be. It might not be very pretty, but it's really yummy, and it has a great creamy texture to it, and it's not wet anymore, so it won't soak out our wonton. So I'll cut that up as I'm sauteing this stuff. So let's throw this into a pan. So we are going to cook this basically just until all the moisture is released from the mushroom. You can smell the ginger, a little bit of garlic. Yummy. So for the tofu, I'm just gonna kind of dice it up a little bit. So now we have texture to our tofu. All right, so once your mushrooms are fully cooked and the moisture is out, I guess I'll start with the chili first. Just a little bit of sesame oil for flavor, not too much. The hoisin, adding a little bit of sweetness in there. A little bit of soy, and you can have a little fun buying your soy. I have a barrel-aged soy at home that is really yummy that I love to use. Some scallions, sliced nice and thin. I only use the lighter green and the white part. And then finally the tofu. You're going to want to cool that until room temperature to cold, because if it's warm, it will break the wonton wrappers. So we'll let that cool. And it looks like this. This is what I have left from earlier, because I already made a few, and it's nice and dry and cool. So take your wonton wrapper, and this is what they look like, and place it down and work with your fingers in a little bit of water all the way around. A very small spoon, this is actually an espresso spoon. A really nice tiny amount of the filling goes right in the center. Just dot it. And then, so this is the fold that I learned. Go ahead and press these together. Make sure that all the air is out of them. And it is like a Z. So you kind of form a Z and then press it. And form a Z and then press. Z, see the Z? Yeah, and then press. And keep on going until you're done. And there you have it, a little dumpling. So I'm gonna cook some and then we'll make some dipping sauce together. So take a saute pan, heat it with a little bit of that same flavorless oil. It's a terrible way to describe it, sorry. Here I have dumplings that were in the freezer that we let thaw for about 8 to 10 minutes at the most, because you still want them really cold so that they stay well formed. We find that the colder they are, the better they hold up. They're not difficult to work with at all. They're actually really simple. Have some water nearby. Have a lid or foil nearby. Once you're hot, go ahead in with your dumplings. Oh, by the way, I added a little bit of cornstarch just to the little parchment paper here so that they don't stick. You really want to make sure you're hot and that you're not sticking. Sticking would be the worst thing possible. How do you avoid that? Heat. Not by a lot of oil. You're not deep frying here. It's all about heat and just shaking every once in a while. All right, let's flip these around. Oh, lovely. They're getting good and caramelized. Add a little bit of, carefully. And now we steam. Keep shaking. Put the lid on. But as the lid is on, I'll constantly move them around every once in a while. I'm gonna make a really quick dipping sauce. I've got sesame oil, a little bit of soy sauce, some of my favorite chili sauce. This is a little garlic chili sauce. Let's take a quick look. Oh, yes, they look really pretty. Moving it around. Some sliced scallions, the same ones that I used in the filling. A little bit of sesame seeds. These are the toasted ones that you can buy already toasted at the supermarket. And finally, a little bit of brown sugar. Mix that all together for a yummy little dip. Once the water has evaporated, you have beautiful, crispy dumplings. I'm very excited. They have a lovely glaze on them. They've steamed and they've caramelized. Let's go ahead and pour our dipping sauce into a cute little bowl. And to finish, we have more of those toasted sesame seeds. And bring out the chopsticks in a plate, and we're all set. How great is that? So I hope that my recipes today give you a sense of power over those who dare to do the unexpected pop-in over the holidays. And here's a hint, they're also good for the guests you actually plan for. Next week, it's the first of 2 shows on the mother of all food holidays, Thanksgiving. From classics to new recipes, it will give you ideas to make your celebration even better and easier. That's next week on SoFlo Taste. Now let's chicken with design expert Elena Capra. Good morning, Elena.
Hey Michelle! Today we have another designer home tour, but no designer. Are you intrigued? Today on SoFlo Home Project, we meet a homeowner with a flair for design who put together a stylish sanctuary that matches her lifestyle.
So taste buds, have a great week, and I'll see you here next week for Tea Day number 1. Goodbye and good taste. Pop in.